Hello, guys. My name is Ahmed Khalif for the Unscripted Talks here in DURB Radio. So, today I just want to talk why the Ruto led government is so desperate for Generation Z and Millennials leadership in its quest to try and apply the 48 laws of power. So, I'll start this analogy from why the finance bill was formulated and to what steps have they taken until now that they are protest and what laws they are trying to apply and they are failing and what they are trying to do to make sure they retain power and succeed in this. Now, for the Kenyan government, it is so vivid and clear, and not only the Kenyan government, even most African governments, yeah, they are never in control of their tax policy. You understand? They're never in control of their tax policy. For instance, when a government goes and borrows funding or loans from the IMF and the World Bank, just like somebody will come to you and ask you for some loan, some assistance in terms of money, you will have to ask them, what is your payment plan? How are you going to pay this debt? So the IMF also will ask you, what is your payment plan? Like you need to give what we call a letter of intent. At least from my research, letter of intent, and that letter from intent is based on things that the government must do for them to accept funding. You understand? Now, there are rules that the IMF gives the government for them to fulfill in order for them to accept funding. So, one, they can tell the government to limit their expenditure, yeah, or try to curb their index of corruption, and they're also a factor of economic performance. So all these is the IMF that will be drafting. So when you hear guys coming out, even the leaders, even the political leaders themselves coming out and saying this finance bill is a draft from the IMF, they are never wrong. Why? How else will they pay that money if they don't tax higher? So it means they are following the IMF. Then it comes with this. Do we then have leaders whom we cannot control? The answer is yes. Remember, they cannot control their economic policy, their tax policy. They cannot control it. It is being controlled it's being controlled externally by the foreign powers. You understand? So you only have the power to elect your leader, but you don't have the power to control them, which means there is still some form of colonization, especially in most African countries. So that, with that said, we elect leaders, but we don't have a proper control over our leaders. So then we are prevented from controlling the economic or tax policy. That said, that's how the finance bill came to be. Now, protests erupts because of this draconian bill, finance bill 2024. And now, how does the government try to manage this? Now, remember, before they got into power, there are various promises that they made, and he himself, as the chief person who really wanted to sit in the presidential seat, that is William Samoei Ruto, made lots of honey suturing speeches just to bring masses unto him. What rule did he use? That is rule number 13 in the 48 laws of power. What does that law says? I just want to get it so fast. That is rule number 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. You understand? Each and every human being on this planet has some form of self-interest. So that is what this man targeted and decided to tell you. For those who are in digital space, hey, you'll be having free calls, you'll just be having free Wi-Fi all over. You understand? For content creators, that is what quote unquote iliwaingiza kwenye boxi. Ushaelewa? Now, when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. You see, that is why all the harambes that were being done on churches, millions and millions of money taken to churches, such that the followers of those specific churches were so blinded to see the past of this William Samoei Ruto and went ahead to vote him. Now, you vote him, and in 2 years, he does not present what he told you and what he promised you. Instead, he goes with lots and lots of promises. Tumetenga, tumeweka, tumefanya hivi na hivi, things that do not add up, they are doable, but he was deceiving you by then. Now, people are tired. The IMF is on his neck and tells him, you have to pass this bill. That is why your representative as the member of parliament will not take the public participation results, which says vote no, but instead goes with what the government of the day needs, vote yes. You understand? And also they'll try to bribe their way through the opposition leaders whom they know will most of the time be around side with the people. You understand them? Now, these rule. There's also a rule number 12: use of selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Now that things went haywire, the protests were there from the Generation Zs and the millennials. Now he comes and tries to be good. The deception kind of thing. Half truth, half lie. So use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. One sincere and honest move will cover over dozens of dishonest ones. Open-hearted gestures of honesty and generosity brings down the guard of even the most suspicious people. Once your selective honesty opens a hole in their armor, you can deceive and manipulate them at will. A timely gift, a Trojan horse, will serve the same purpose. You understand this now? Yeah, that is why with the second demonstrations or protests that happened until people are able to occupy parliament, yeah, he came, yeah, tries to say, I have withdrawn the finance bill, take it back to parliament. That is deception. So there are people who will say, hey, the president has torn down, guys, call off your demonstrations, and that is what his deputy president said. Rigathi Gachagua, the president has talked, he has decided to listen to you, so kindly also turn down, call off the demonstrations. Rule number 12: use of selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. So when some of you start shutting off down, it is easier to control you. Another rule that was initiated was rule number 17. Rule number 17 in the laws of power, 48 laws of power. Keep others in suspended terror, cultivate on air or unpredictability. You see, abductions, kidnappings, shootings that were done during the protest. Now that you don't want to listen to me, you don't want to engage with me, now I'll have to terrify you. You understand? So remember, some group has already left the bandwagon because they simply believe that the president was able to listen to them and withdrawn the finance bill. What we call deception. Now here comes terror. They also want to shed the numbers again more down, but now using terror. Yeah. Humans are creatures of habit with an insatiable need to see familiarity in other people's actions. Your predictability gives them a sense of control. Turn the tables, be deliberately unpredictable. A behavior that seems to have no consistency or purpose will keep them off balance, and they will wear themselves out trying to explain your moves. Taken to an extreme, this strategy can intimidate and terrorize. You understand? So when we get all these people talking about maybe you terrorizing people, maybe you abducting people, some of the people will also be shed off from that call of Ruto must go. Some people will be shed off. You see what strategies they're trying to apply to make sure that they disorient the movement of Ruto must go. Okay, rule number 22. Let's talk. You know, that is when they tell you, hey, kindly identify the leaders, identify your leaders, bring them to us. Let us talk. What does rule number 22 say? What does rule number 22 say? Let's get hold of. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. So, well, the president said that they have withdrawn the bill. Some will see like they are weak. You'll forgive my manners. I am not feeling okay. Yeah, I just caught some cold early in the morning as I was preparing for this. Yeah, so you'll bear with my manners. Kindly excuse me. So the rule number 22 is they use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. When you are weaker, never fight for honor. Seek, choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first by turning the other cheek. You infuriate and settle him and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power. So most of you will think by Ruto saying, let us talk. You'll think that he's actually surrendering. When he says, I have withdrawn the finance bill, most of you will think that, oh, the man is finally surrendering. That's a total lie. Let me tell you, it's just a kind of deception, and most of you will be shed completely trying to believe that he has actually done it, you know. And remember, just the other day when he was asked about this kid that was shot with 8 bullets, what did he say? But the kid is still alive. Instead of even being remorseful with the families that have lost their loved ones, innocent souls were lost the other day. And there is nothing like panic in him. There is nothing like remorsefulness in him. I mean, what kind of president does that? At least the least he could have done is, empathize with the families that lost their loved ones. You understand it? Now, there is this rule number 42. Remember in the interview, he was asked, what were we seeing the KDFs and all that? And now that the Gen Zs and the millennials have also called for other demonstrations, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we also see the presence of the KDF. And the president said, KDF only comes as a last resort, as a last resort. What is the 42nd power, rule of power? What does it say? Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Trouble can often be traced to a single strong individual, the stirrer, the arrogant underlying, the poisoner of goodwill. If you allow such people room to operate, others will succumb to their influence. Do not wait for the troubles they cause to multiply. Do not try to negotiate with them. They are irredeemable. Neutralize them, influence by isolating or banishing them. Strike at the source of the trouble, and the sheep will scatter. That is why they are so desperate to find the leader of the faceless movement. They are so desperate to find the leaders of the tribeless movement. The leaderless movement. They are trying so hard. They have abducted people, but still, the song still remains the same. Ruto must go. So, as we get into this fight, let us not let our guards down. Let us put our shoulders high. Let us focus. Let us not be intimidated. We are winning this. So long as when they try to implement all these, because there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 raw or rules or laws of power out of the 48 that they can use. These are the most lethal that they can use. Unfortunately, they have not been able to implement them. So, this is the time to stand up. Viva! Go to the battlefield. Fight your fight in the most intelligent manner that you know. They have guns, yes, but we have brains. We have intelligence. Our intellect cannot let us down. You know, we have in the era where information is power, we cannot be defeated. We are just but starting.
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, DURB Radio ndio mpango